Album 472 is SZA's Control. This album was released on June 9th, 2017, recorded over 3 years previous to that. It comes from TDE and RCA Records at 49 minutes and 1 second. A number of producers, again, on this. Some names that pop out to me, specifically Tyler, the Creator's listed as a producer on this one. So that's kind of fun. He had been doing his thing for a while at that point. This is SZA's debut studio album, and it has guest appearances from Travis Scott, Kendrick Lamar, and a few others. Kyle, what'd you think of this album?
Hey, it's Kyle, just jumping in real quick to ask, do you approve this groove? Let us know in the comments. Give us a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation.
I am really appreciating this list of 500 albums for introducing me to things that I just hadn't come across before, because this album was this was good. This whole album was just a vibe, and I enjoyed it. Not knowing what it was coming into it. SZA was just a name to me. I couldn't have told you a genre. I couldn't have told you anything about her. I enjoy music that every time I listen to it, I pick up on something new. Whether it's a new sound or a new hook or something that I just have never picked up on before. And I've listened to this album a good handful of times now. And every time I listen to it, there's something more to enjoy about it. There's something new to find. And it's good. One thing that I picked up on my last listen through is how it's bookended with Supermodel at the beginning and 20 something at the end. Stylistically, like, they're very similar songs with kind of just the stripped down, straightforward single guitar and vocals and just great vocal melodies and great vocal performances. It felt to me like it was kind of like that was the opening and the closing of the album, and that was very intentional because it matched. It bookended the album really well. It had just great atmosphere, great sound. Overall, I just was taken by surprise by this album, and this is the second album on the list this week that just took me by surprise. I would say the first 3 songs, I was like, all right, this is okay, I like it. And then Drew Barrymore was just like the 4th song. I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. And from then on, I was like, yes, this is good. And then on re-listen, I appreciated those first 3 songs more on re-listen. But that was my first impression of it, was that Drew Barrymore song going forward really got me into it. There was a good, just the feel of the instrumentation was interesting. And it was a very well done mix of both live instrumentation and digital instrumentation. There were some drum loops and some synth pads and different things going on there, but also guitars, other acoustical instruments, being played. I'm having a hard time finding words for this album because it's something that's so different for me. So I'm relying more on just the overall vibes of it. And for me, it was overwhelmingly positive. I really enjoyed this. I was telling my sister, who knows SZA and is a fan and all of that. And I didn't know that, but I was talking to her. I was like, oh yeah, I was just listening to some of these albums and talking about some of my favorites so far. And I brought this one up and she's like, you liked that? I said, I loved this. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm having a hard time finding the words to explain it or describe it, but this was my favorite album of the week for sure.
Yeah. So my first spin of this album, I was in Florida putting together a chicken coop for my mother-in-law. Shout out Maureen. Just as one does. and I was, following along with the directions and trying to make sense of this thing. So I didn't spend a lot of time with it. I felt like I had, when I listened to it, I felt like I had heard one or two of the songs before. Now, I'll preface what I'm going to say. This is the negative part first, but it becomes much more positive. I thought on first listen, and still do, that a lot of the vocal melodies are repetitive. Um, and what I came to kind of think was this album to me, and I don't have enough context for other similar artists, so I don't know if this is a unique sound of hers, which is why this album is held in such high acclaim, or if it's not. But it reminded me almost of a mashup of like R&B vocals and mumble rap, where like they're like the, especially the triplets in mumble
Mm-hmm.
rap, that was a recurring kind of theme that pops up in her singing. um but I really liked it. One of the things that I really appreciated about her is she is not subtle.
No,
um her
no.
Yeah, she comes out and she tells you like there is no like room for interpretation on this. I mean, she tells you exactly what this shit is about. um Songs like Doves in the Wind, that features
Yep.
Kendrick Lamar,
Yep.
is a very explicit song,
I
but an
it,
interesting back and, well, it wasn't really back and forth, but an interesting opposing viewpoints on the same topic. I'll leave it at that.
mhm.
Maybe I'll clip it in one of the parts that isn't so offensive. Um, so as I listened to this like the second time, I found myself thinking like I want to like this a lot. Like I really want to like it, and I would agree that I kind of like I ended up basically getting there. This is definitely an album that for the vibes I would put on. So we were just talking about how for some people music is at the forefront of everything and sometimes it's just in the background. This is an album to me that can be in the background of something I'm doing, will I'll be very cognizant of as it's going on. Like, so this to me is a great vibes album. But if you wanted to get into the lyrics and really get into it, there's certainly enough to do that too. Um, where was it? The song "Doves in the Wind." My favorite part of this album was when she talks about how like Forrest Gump didn't even have to work hard for Jenny. Like Jenny just gave it up for Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Like, like he wasn't that amazing of a guy, I guess. But like, I mean, hey, he got Jenny, right? So, just those little references, I really appreciated. Some storytelling. I also enjoyed. There's not full on skits in this album, but what sounds to me as, and I didn't research this, so shame on me for not knowing, but it sounds like it was maybe her mom, just kind of like in little interviews, like
But yeah, I was
those little
wondering.
takeaway phrases and stuff.
I
They kind
yeah.
of made me chuckle. So I really enjoyed it. Like I said, way more than I thought I would after the first listen. Um, Man, this album crushed in year-end lists and accolades and awards. I mean, there's a list. It's got to be close to 30 publications that have this. I would say at least maybe 25 of them, maybe there's more than 30, have this in their top 10 albums for the year 2017. And there's a lot of sub lists. Um, Rap's best albums. What one did I just saw? Um, the Loud and Quiet Top 40. Like, I don't know what that is, but I guess it's a publication. But the New York Times had this as its eighth best album of 2017. So this was really critically, really well received. Um, Not only that, but it peaked at charts. It was number two in the top, the U.S. top R&B hip hop albums, and number three on the Billboard 200. So not only was it up there on the R&B hip hop, but it crossed over into the larger mainstream chart also. I mean, it just did really well. Um, I didn't see. I saw, now I've lost it, about specific awards that it won. She received 5 nominations at the 60th Grammy Awards in 2018, including Best New Artist, Best Urban Contemporary Album, Best R&B Performance, Best R&B Song, and Best Rap or Song Performance for Love Galore with Travis Scott. It doesn't say here if she won them, but she was nominated 5 times. So yeah, I mean, like you said, for an album that's not typically in my wheelhouse, I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyed this one. What did you score it?
This is a strong 4. I didn't quite go to a 5, and I think what you said about the lack of subtlety is probably why, the lack of lyrical subtlety is why it didn't quite get to that 5 for me. And not in a prudish sort of way, but like, I mean, that Doves in the Wind, like, definitely not playing that song with my kids in the car.
That song's about not needing a boyfriend and just being cool with a dildo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and
that.
Yeah, and again, not in a prudish sort of way, but just in a like a, it's too, it lacks subtlety. It lacks leaving anything to the imagination. So I didn't quite get to the 5 with that, but
that's funny.
Strong 4.
That's what I appreciated. That's what I appreciated most about it. Again, not because I celebrated it, but just because I appreciated her maybe audacity.
Sure. Yeah. I could. Yeah.
There's a lot of R&B and rap music that isn't subtle, right?
Yeah.
But for the style of music it was, you just come out and say the damn thing.
Yeah.
Talking about herself, talking about her thoughts, talking about society's thoughts, like, you know, when it comes to bodies and sex and all that stuff. I was like, dang, say the damn thing. All right, go off. So I my initial rating for this gave it a 3, but I would give this a 4. This is something that I would definitely seek out again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was SZA's album Control, in at 472.
Hey, thanks for watching. We'd love to know what you think of this album, so let us know in the comments. Do you approve this groove? And as always, a quick thumbs up helps a lot. Subscribe so you can see all 500 albums, and we'll see you on the next record.